So, Vanessa, my friend, you're back again. I wanted to catch up with Vanessa again for another little session for my podcast, The Art of Feeling Better, because we wanted to have an add on conversation anyway, because last time we were talking about the power of nature and this beautiful space that you have. And all of the science behind why it's important to connect with nature, because it's a fundamental part of Mojo School. It's, one of the things, one of the quarters is literally about connecting in with the natural environment, with yourself, with your body. So that was a really, really good conversation. And it's actually gone on Mojo School as a specific element now. Nice. So I put our little conversation on so you can get your wisdom in there. But we have so many other things that we talk about on camera when we're just chatting. So many important things.
The world to rights.
Yeah, and so many things that come up for us personally and professionally that we'll kind of talk about. I think we really need to film this because the conversations are really important and they're really relevant. And it's all around things that are happening in our own businesses, because we work with the public, right? And we have people that come to us and we're here to facilitate and hold space. You have this physical space, I have this digital space. So we know what matters to people and what's really current and a lot of the issues that are coming up. And then we'll sit and we'll kind of discuss it amongst us and with our peers and other like leaders. And all the kind of the same sticky swamps and situations seem to be coming up all at the same time. And one of the reasons that we flipped our event in August, so Tribe Fest is coming up in August, one of the reasons we're having this conversation is to make it about young people in particular, which has always been a passion of both of ours anyway.
Yeah,
you used to be a teacher.
Absolutely.
And more so the topic of reimagining education. So there's lots of stuff going on my socials around that particular phrase, reimagining education, and how we best learn and grow and thrive. And I try and keep it really lighthearted because it is, and it's really positive and it's really exciting, but it's really deep conversation, and there's lots of things to delve into when it comes to the topic of education. Sometimes I'm a bit more vocal than other times when we talk about the education system, and it's difficult to walk that line, isn't it, between really calling out some of the bad stuff and playing it safe and behaving and being good and just doing good things. But I know we've spoken before about the absolute magic of alternative spaces and alternative provision, the things that you do and how you could deliver any part of the curriculum in your space. And we don't sing about it or shout about it quite loud enough, I don't think, because underneath it, we see the harm. We see the parents and the kids that are absolutely just beside themselves, cannot manage in an environment that's not meant for them. But then we kind of go out there with the kind of soft focus of, oh, look, come play in the woods, it'll be great. But it's so serious, isn't it? The topic is so serious. So in the light of this event we have coming up, where we're really, really trying to bring that conversation loudly, and we're letting young people take the lead with their stories, and we're inviting parents to talk honestly about their experiences, and really brave teachers and ex-teachers and educators to be really honest about how it works for them. Give me some of your perspective, as much as you're willing to share, around your past history. So you came from the education system and how you're doing it now, and how it's showing up for you in your work at the moment.
Blimey.
I know it's big, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a big question. And I've worked in schools, and I struggled working in the schools because I didn't feel like I was given the training within my teacher training to deal with the holistic well-being of kids. I didn't understand that at the time because I was quite young. I was in my 20s. So we were taught how to project our voice and how to impart knowledge, specific knowledge to kids, and tell them how to think and what they should know and stuff like that. And then managed to get out of it into an alternative education provision quite quickly. So I worked in aquariums where I set up different types of programs where kids could come in and they were doing practical things. So for example, we developed something about animal behavior, and the kids would come, but they could actually see the animal behaviors, and they could sit and they could observe it, and it was real life. And so we got across lots of the kind of what can be quite dry in a classroom in rows in a really interesting way. And I got fantastic feedback, especially from the teachers, about the kids that struggle to engage. So I started really thinking about it then, and then I worked in Denbighshire for 15 years doing education and interpretation, so turning complicated information into something that was interesting and vibrant and made people passionate about looking after the space and becoming a better citizen by learning about how amazing nature is and how we are not apart from it. We're
We
a
are it.
part
We
of
are,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. And I really learned a huge amount from all the people I worked with there, the biodiversity office and everything about the ecosystem and how we're part of it. So leaving there and doing my forest school training and wellbeing and nature training has really given me a really solid grounding scientifically to reinforce how I feel about the
So
education
you know
system.
that instinctive gut was right, wasn't it? That it
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
right.
and I couldn't have named
No,
anything
but
then, and
you
I
knew
didn't
it
know
didn't
who
feel right.
the current research people were or any of the facts and figures and everything back then. But the stuff that's coming out now from the University of Derby and stuff, the evidence that shows that kids can't learn unless they're in a learning frame of mind, and you have to be able to provide space, activity, nature, something in the morning or something before they even. You can't sit a child in front of a desk with a pen and expect them to just all of a sudden be able to learn maths, English,
It's
science. You
incredible
just can't do it.
when you think about it and when we discuss this, and I've seen you say these things to other educators and to parents as well. And it's when I first heard you speak in those terms, it's complete common sense. Why are we not? It just seems when you talk about it that way, how is that not an obvious thing when the system is going, no, you must do it because I'm telling you to do it? It literally can't happen. It's so
Yeah.
obvious that it can't happen because it's so unnatural for us. And from my kind of, when I get my mojo head on with all of the brain science and neuroscience, which is I'm so passionate about, that is backed up with all of these, these synapses and all of these chemical reactions that happen, and the shutters coming down on parts of your brain that are conducive to learning. It's not just I don't fancy it today, or I'd rather play outside, or I don't really like school. The brain shuts itself
It
off from the
is.
part that learns. You
If you're
can't.
hungry, then that's
Yeah,
what's on
if
your
you're too
mind.
hot.
If you've had a row with your mum, that's what's on your mind. If you've broken something that's important to you, that's what's on you. It could be anything. You need to process that information
Yeah,
before you can start to even learn.
you
So,
can,
yeah,
and it's something that
really,
every educator, and it interests me when you say about, and lots of people that I work with in education say the same thing, that your training, you were surprised that your training did not include that kind of stuff, because surely in order to impart wisdom or to get engagement and an outcome from any other human, you have to understand how humans work. That makes perfect sense to
yeah,
me.
yeah.
And I did my very basic teacher training just to be able to teach adults, and there was nothing in there. There was a bit of Maslow, that was it. You know how much we like Maslow,
Yeah, I didn't
especially
even
Maslow
do
in nature.
Maslow when I did my
And
PGCE.
this is it. And I've spoken to teachers since, and I've gone,
Crazy.
obviously, Maslow, as if they obviously, I'm teaching you to suck eggs here. You obviously, and they look blank, like, what's that?
Yeah.
Like, and that really frightened me, that actually these, teachers who are in this
Yeah.
space,
Didn't
especially.
understand those basic needs, those
Absolutely, and it's
physiological
not
needs.
surprising, but not only for the people they're teaching, for themselves. They don't understand where they sit on it. And we've
Yeah,
had this when we've been working with TAs and teachers, that
definitely.
people will place themselves in this, yes, I'm on fire, everything's horrific, I can't see past. And yet you have to go out day in, day out into a classroom and try and fight more
Yeah,
fires. It's obvious at this point that it's not
definitely.
working. And that's one of the reasons that we're trying to do a lot of this collaborative stuff, and we're trying to partner up with the right people and spaces that are open to having these conversations.
The training with the TAs and the teachers that we've done, I mean, we must have done
You've done hundreds now, haven't you?
250
Yeah.
people over the last couple of years through funding in Flintshire. So they've all come in, and probably half already kind of get it, and
Yeah.
they already are doing it. But then there's the other half that are so overwhelmed with big complex behaviors in the classroom that they're not they just can't see it, and that's not a fault of theirs.
No.
They haven't been trained and they haven't been given the background to be able to think what are the reasons behind these behaviors, and a lot of the time there isn't the management support or the
No.
understanding from governors and everything.
Yeah.
I've got an example recently where it was actually somebody who works in the does the food, and
Right.
she came in and she would just went, oh my, you know, I can't cope anymore. I've been doing this for 30 years. The kids are coming in and they won't stop talking, and I can't hear what they want for their dinner. And she really, and I felt really mean, but I was saying, why?
Yeah,
Why are these
what's the root
kids, why
cause
are
of
they
that
gone so
behaviour?
noisy? And we ended up having this conversation where we realised kids aren't doing what we used to do, go out and play on the
Mm.
streets and talk to people and have that social engagement. They're in the bedrooms.
And it all
They're in
comes
the
out.
bedrooms. So they're stifled there.
Yeah.
Then they're going into a classroom and they're not allowed to talk or do anything that interests them or express themselves openly or anything like that. So they're stifled there. Then they go into canteen.
I'm free.
And they can
I can
speak and they
talk and
can
engage.
talk and they can be
I'm with my
loud
friends.
and everything.
Why wouldn't they? You have
And
to release it somewhere,
it was
right?
a really interesting conversation. And somebody else said, oh yeah, and when they're outside, they just go mad and
Of
they're all
course they do. They're
fighting and they're doing this.
humans.
But they need
It's
that.
human behaviour, isn't
Yeah.
it? Why are we trying to make people inhuman? Why are we trying to make them into something that we inherently aren't?
Yeah.
I wonder what the difference would be if they were. I mean, I can probably guess what the difference would be. You know, if it was flipped and there was all of that social, interactive, all this engagement and learning the way we learn here, and then there was canteen time. I imagine that would be, I need some peace and quiet to eat my food, and I'm going to slow down.
And how much better would that be? Because we don't digest properly if we're all stressed and
no.
And
so that would it's flipping it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's so fascinating. It's so important as well. And I think I wanted to just touch on it because we're going to be having more of these conversations, and especially when we come to our event, we're going to film a lot of the talks and the workshops, which are going to dive deeper into all of these topics and all of the, because there's so many puzzle pieces. I think there's so much information. We have somebody who specializes in positive psychology. She's called a positivity doctor. You'll love her. We have people who are analysing data around the blend of AI and bringing that into the classroom and how it can be used positively, and some hope for the future on how we can blend different spaces and different experiences together. We've got lots of interesting conversations coming up, so I'm going to start to edit those into a bit of a series so that we can bring these topics together. But I think what I really wanted to nail down with you before this event, because I think from wider conversations that I'm having and with the Wicked Issues, which is one the young people are leading on a specific edition of their magazine around the topic of education and their experiences. And they've been interviewing through forums and different things, parents, other young people and teachers. And I can see in the background the stories that are coming out, and it's the same thing. No matter who's saying it, they're all saying the same thing. You and I have had this conversation so many times. We're saying the same thing as parents and as educators, and we're saying it on behalf of the people that we work with. So there's got to be some common issues, and we're seeing them in the swamps of our territory maps. So is there something that's coming up that you can think of that's really at the front of your mind when you're working with parents? For example, you do a lot of work with deeply traumatized parents who are trying to raise deeply traumatized young people who cannot operate in the traditional educational settings. What is it that you think that needs to change? Let's say we can't bring it. So
that's a big vision.
It's a big vision, but let's take out of the equation this space. So we know that we would just want everybody to flip, and we've said before, let's have the majority of time out here and a day inside. Let's take that out. That's the ideal. While we're waiting for that utopia, which I think that's what's going to happen, because we're going to make it happen. What needs to change immediately in the classroom? What is the issue that is causing so much of this dysfunction that parents are now starting to come? They're voting with their feet, aren't they? Everyone's withdrawing their kids, and you can see it everywhere. What is it?
Yeah, the number of kids in the school.
Volume.
I think that's massive, because again, they're not surrounding themselves by people all the time. So all of a sudden you're putting lots and lots of hormonal people all in one space. It's going to cause problems and anxieties and things like that. There's still the lockdown.
I think that's big, you know.
It's massive.
I do think it's big.
For all different stages, every age of kid, there's things coming out that are a result of either they were told that actually school wasn't that important, you can do it online. That was one thing, and then they're being made to go back into that system.
It's very true.
And the fact that they could follow their interests. You know, I know a lot of kids my kids didn't do any of the schoolwork, but they can identify every tree in the woods, and
So they got their education in that way, didn't they?
and they were healthy and happy. So
That's interesting.
those sorts of things, I think, trying to change some of the really, really stubborn people
Yeah.
in the schools.
Yeah.
So we've been doing lots of training with teachers and TAs, and one of the things that we've put into our training is helping them to be able to communicate to governors and head teachers how important it is to get the kids out and moving and bring the outside into their classroom and things like that. But there's still a hell of a lot of resistance to that.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Change
Possibly.
goes against the grain. I gave lots of the TAs plants to go into their classrooms to help ionize the air and teach the kids about caring for it. A lot of that's been taken away, and I don't know whether it's fear and health and safety. They don't have pets in classes now, or
I find it difficult to excuse that, and I'm getting a bit more vocal as we go, and I'm quite happy with that. It's the space I'm moving into is like I came from this shouty space to 10 years of compliance and kind of we're moving within the system to find things out, and I'm definitely feeling guided towards more of a noisy space now, so I'm kind of changing my language a little bit, but I'm finding it really difficult to excuse those kinds of things, because unless someone gives me a really good reason and says we cannot do that because of that, I'm not a total anarchist. Like, well, cool, that's a great reason. When I can't get a valid reason, and bear in mind I'm a governor, I'm a chair of governors, so I understand how this works as well from the other side, and I'm always championing for these things. It just makes me really uncomfortable as to why would you not want to put things in place that are going to be helpful for teachers and students. And I think you're right. I think it's a lot about change management, but I do think it's a lot about again, we've said this so many times, the creative space and the nature-based space are two very, very misunderstood topics,
almost seen as a
very silly
thing.
This is hobbies. This is not going to help you with the rest of your life. We're there banging our head against the wall going, actually, I'll be seeing people when they're 50 and have lots of drug and alcohol problems, 3 failed marriages and blood pressure problems, and we'll reintroduce creativity and nature as a therapeutic intervention. It's breaking through that outdated thinking, and I understand where it comes from, and I get it, and I understand cognitive dissonance, and I understand people cannot manage to think differently because it's a threat to everything they know. So I get all that. But when people are actively being harmed in real time, and there's such numbers, it's not just the small percentage that you could write off as they're just problematic children, or they're just overreactive parents. There's massive numbers now, and we have science in all areas, whether it's around music, vibration, frequency, creativity, different sides of the brain, the power of the biology. We've got all that, so I feel like there's lots of data there to say, actually, I understand you're thinking that it's just a bit silly and it's a secondary thing and you need to get rid of music altogether, or you need to get rid of this and kids should do as they're told and sit in the classroom. Here's the counter to that argument. As an intelligent academic piece of work, if that's what you want, still resistance. That is really pissing me off, because I think there's no reason for that, and that needs challenge. I think that needs big challenge, because some things can't be changed overnight. And I've had so many conversations over the years about budgetary constraints, time constraints. So many teachers are like, don't give me anything else, because I can't even handle what I've got.
And the tick box mentality as well,
that
you've got to cover all of these things. I think the change to the curriculum in Wales is really positive.
I
think those people that are open to that change will
and
thrive
we can
with
help,
that, and
because
there's some
there's
really
so
interesting
many
stuff.
And I think the conversations that we have in August are going to lean themselves well into that, because there are so many people. Sometimes it's just a thought, and these amazing, innovative educators will go, oh, yes, I got the chance to do this. And then when they practically come to it, it gets hard. But there's help. There's so many brilliant people that can help, that have resources, that have training. So I think if we can bring the right people together, that's going to make a huge, huge difference. And put the kids out front, like we're trying to do, put their voices out front. They will tell you what's bad and what doesn't work. And you can't write it off as them being problematic or stupid or silly, or you have to listen to these things because they have the answers, and then you can discuss these things and you can find solutions together. We were talking in Youth Tribe last week about, and it constantly comes up, uniform constantly. And you speak to the powers that be, and you'll get eye rolls and ridiculous. I'm not even talking about this. It's a massive issue for young people.
It's a huge
for,
one.
for a multitude of reasons, sensory, lots of different reasons, self-expression. And I find it really interesting that it's just a shut down conversation when it's, for me, it's a health and safety issue.
Yeah.
It's a safeguarding issue. It really is. I mean, it might not seem it to you because you quite like uniform.
Yeah.
That's
irrelevant. And why aren't they looking at the places that don't have the uniforms and
how
the education is thriving?
Data,
yeah. There's loads of examples out there.
And the kids themselves, especially, I say kids, that seems like it's a really insulting term nowadays. the young people that we're working with, they have really good rationale behind this, and they'll be able to hold their own in these spaces, and they'll be able to take critique, and they'll be able to say, okay, that does make sense, I understand that, have you thought about this, and can you give me some examples of how this is affecting my education? And I love that dialogue, and I think that's really important. But they get shut down as being problem kids because they have their own opinions, and I think that's what we need to try and combat.
That's the same with teachers. The teachers that do want to make the changes within the system, you can't vocalize it. If you've got a management team that are absolutely adamant,
you're
that
ostracized,
the system works,
aren't you?
Yeah, you can't do
I wonder
that.
how they can be adamant the system works. I mean, come on, there's glaringly obvious evidence.
Some people have been through school and they've thrived. I loved school because that was my safe space.
Yeah.
So that was me. I would rather be in school than be at home.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are like that. It's mad, isn't it, that school could be a safe space?
I know. Well, it is. I know. And my Ruby's saying the same thing now. She's older and she's at uni and she's out of her teens. She's like, oh my goodness, I wish I could go back. I loved it. It was great. It was brilliant. Because she just, she thrived at school and had a great time. But Sonka and I did a podcast, and Sonka's doing a workshop with us in August, talking around. I mean, that's the perfect case of actually it was the best place for you to be, and you've got good memories of that. I was a high achiever, and Sonka said the same thing. So we statistically would be the tick box of achievement, gold standard. This is the data that says the school system works perfectly well. Actually, I did enjoy it. I didn't have any issues at school. I enjoyed it. I did really well. But it's only now that I am doing things that oppose that because they're not right for me. So I'm really not a tick.
Yeah.
I masked my way through it, and I was a good girl because I'm a people pleaser. I did as I was told, and I got good grades.
I reflected a lot on that.
Do you know
what
I mean?
Yeah.
Was it really conducive to positivity to you?
Yeah.
It was a safe space because it was better than the other space. But if it had been really right, how much would you have thrived then?
Yeah. I think for me, it gave me freedom and options outside of what was going on at home.
Yeah.
So that's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
And so in a certain extent, I felt like I could pursue my interests. But only those topics that I was interested in did I really thrive in.
Okay.
And they're the ones that I've run with throughout my career when I look back now.
Well, so it has helped you in that way. It's given you that funnel into your career and into what you do because you had the interest in those topics. And we've had a couple of good responses from the consultation through the form for the magazine. We've had a couple of parents who've said there's been a couple of things, but they haven't gone into detail about any wicked issues or any nasty bits or any traumatic experiences. And they said, no, do you know what? We've had a really good school experience. My child's both neurodivergent, had really good experiences. And that's brilliant because there are some amazing schools doing amazing things and some brilliant teachers. And it's the teachers, isn't it? So that's great. We need to find them, and they need to be best practice. We need to work out what they're doing right and how that works and share the good stories. So it's not all about sort of venting and complaining because we all understand that it's difficult and big systemic change is not easy.
I think the 5 days a week is an issue.
Yeah.
Kids going into that same space all the time. Yeah. I think in my vision, there would be maybe a mentor that led a group of children through their interests. And I'd love to see, kind of go into the library to do language and literature. And spend time around all of those books and being able to be guided. Sights. Not all have to learn the same book.
What do you want to explore?
And instead of it being exams, because exams are such an issue, and they're so old-fashioned, and they don't measure.
They don't work.
They don't measure intelligence or aptitude or ability in any way whatsoever. I've got a dreadful.
They're a test of memory. That's what they are. They're a test of memory.
But if you could go in, into a place with a research paper that you've done, and you've taught them how to research and how to look at different options and
skills.
do that sort of stuff.
Oh, how amazing.
And I've spoken to a couple of employers, quite big employers, and they would love that. instead of going in with
Well, what a
8
skill set.
GCSEs, they'd like somebody to go in and say, look,
I
I'd really
produced
like
this
to
work.
join your company, and this is what I could do for you.
I
Oh
would
my
I would
God,
go
you'd
for that,
want
would
them,
you? As an
wouldn't-
employer, I would
absolutely.
automatically go for
Yeah.
those kind of things. So people are talking, parents are talking, teachers are talking,
Employers
employers are talking.
Yeah. And they're changing their environments as well. The biophilia, and they're bringing
Yeah.
plants in. They're
Inside,
changing the
walls.
colours that they paint things. They're making things less busy, less notices, less warning signs, and all those things
big
that
red signs.
trigger everybody's stress responses.
But that's showing that the world is changing. So we're quite positive about this at the moment.
The world is changing. Lots of things are changing. It's just that school system.
It has to catch up.
And actually, the primary schools are getting better. It's the secondary school, which is why there's that gulf in that transition.
And that's the time where people need it the most. I think that transition has to change, doesn't it?
And that's causing massive anxiety, huge problems, huge big classrooms, lots and lots of neurodivergent and different things going on.
Storm,
and it's just a kettle. It's a boiling kettle.
It is. Yeah.
And I really feel for teachers nowadays having to deal with that, especially, like I said, if they haven't got that support.
I do.
But I think for us, our vision, and I've talked about it to loads of people, this is not just us creating a forest school. This is about, I want kids to be able to come here, maybe a day or two in between being in school, to re-regulate, to follow some sort of research that they're interested in, which will be cross-curricular, but will be based within the woods. And I just think having those discrete spaces that we've talked a lot about and planning, where they can go and there's a library in the woods, they can do creative work there, they can go and do practical work somewhere if they're interested in that, they could go and do yoga,
reflective space, physical space, mindful space, active practical skill,
anything that they want. We can create their individual curriculums for them.
What amazing adults will that create?
I just think it would be amazing, and it would empower them. And a lot of on the news this week, they were talking about the amount of people homeless and the correlation with people that are neurodivergent or have got some sort of trauma or something in their past that hasn't been dealt with.
Same with addiction, isn't it?
It's that
this would
by doing this better, it saved the country a fortune. It's politically, it would be a really major thing for somebody to get behind.
100%. And we said this before, we'd love to do like an avatar, a piece of research where it would be great to actually plot out the cost to the system of the person at the moment going through this system, and the cost per person for something like this. It would save millions, if not billions of pounds. So I think this is how we do it. It's having these conversations, it's sharing some of this stuff, it's bringing in the data and the research and the and the right kind of language, I guess, which is what we do, and bringing in everybody's stories and hearing everybody. That's how you do it. That's how you change, isn't it? And bringing in the collaborators
and the people that are sat around the tables making decisions. They're the ones that we need to get to, and they're the ones that are hard to get to because they are busy.
They absolutely are. They
trying to deal with a system.
Be busy in a space like this for an hour or a day. Come and immerse and find out, because that ironically is probably what's going to take things off your plate and put out your fires, because there are people doing that and have the skills to do it. So it's just that mindset flip of stop being busy and start being productive. And these are the kind of spaces that do that. So hopefully these conversations and these kind of events are going to do just that. So I'm going to wrap it up there, because we've got loads more things that we can say, but maybe we'll do another one after our August event, and we'll have all of these brilliant conversations filmed as well. And I'm going to put some links in for Vanessa's beautiful space here in North East Wales. And if you want to connect in, we'll have the socials on there, LinkedIn. And I think it's just carrying on the conversation and making some good links in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Thanks. High five.